Mr. Davion Boozy, and that is Mr. Ryan O'Regan. And welcome to Tales from the Film Set. We are going to be talking about a fair number of things today, some more positive, some less positive than others. We're going to be putting a little bit of time into Velma today because Velma on HBO Max is getting destroyed from many fronts by the literal United Nations, shall we say, of contempt when it comes to this. The Indian community hates what Mindy Kaling has done to the Velma character. Other people are pissed off about the fact that they've destroyed a classic character that a lot of us as kids used to pretend that we used to solve mysteries with. Raising my hand on that one, by the way. I used to pretend I was part of the Scooby-Doo gang and had Scooby-Doo bed sheets. Not so pissed off about that, but I am pissed off about a few things with this anyway. But we are going to be talking about this because Velma right now has gotten more hate and more contempt than anything we have seen before. And there is a lot of palpable outrage going on when it comes to this. Some of it unjustified, some of it I think very much justified. I'm going to be opening it up to you guys a little bit and talk about this. Obviously, I wanted to show you real quick what Rotten Tomatoes has in this case because of the fact that it's 55% Rotten Tomato critic score, but a 7% audience score. And I'm going to be honest, that's pretty brutal.
Wow.
I'm still getting over the F-bomb that he dropped at
You're
the
right.
very beginning.
You're right.
So it's like, hi, everybody. And then you can go into that.
Okay, let's get that one right out front. This is Velma. Specifically, this is Fred from Velma, from Fred Jones, the de facto so-called leader of the group, who is in this particular case literally posing as Hitler for comedy.
Accidentally.
Accidentally, yes. But this is a comedy on HBO Max. At what point was Hitler, who was responsible for the deaths of millions of Jews, and not to mention gypsies and a fair number of people outside of that, since when did that become societally acceptable comedy for someone outside the Jewish culture?
I would say 1940s The Great Dictator with Charlie Chaplin.
And 2001, The Rat Race with...
Rat Race is different. Rat Race was actually written by a Jewish guy and directed by a Jewish one. Andy Bregman, who wrote SNL, was the writer of that. And then David Zucker, one of the Zucker brothers, I forget which one. All the Zuckers are Jewish. Directed Rat Race. So it's a little different if you make fun of your own. Jerry Seinfeld, and made a Hitler reference in Seinfeld. Seinfeld's Jewish, so is Larry David. A little different there. But when someone
Jewish,
he might have been. I don't remember offhand. His name wasn't Chaplin, I don't believe. But we are looking at something that is a different era now. We are looking at something where comedy has changed over the course of the last 20 years. Certain things that used to be societally acceptable are no longer societally acceptable. And I think you'll agree with me on that. So when you look at certain comedy out there and what is considered to be acceptable in today's standards, apparently Hitler jokes are okay now because Mindy Kaling put it in her Scooby-Doo or not Scooby-Doo comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I told you before the show, and I told you beforehand, I have two Jewish people living with me, my wife and my mother-in-law who moved in here 6 months ago. My mother-in-law is about ready to drop HBO Max, and she's the one actually paying for it because she buried her Jewish husband 2 years ago in a Jewish cemetery in Emerson, New Jersey. We're going back out there again, for the anniversary of his death date. Mm-hmm. My wife is like, how is this comedy? Why do they have to, trounce on characters that we grew up with? My response was, it's fast food. It's easy to do it. But what pisses me off about this is the fact that Hitler jokes in a throwaway comedy is now societally acceptable. If I made a throwaway joke about fried chicken and blackface, how fast would I be destroyed?
Very quick.
And yet this is okay. So my question to you is, why is this okay? But if I went out and did something assholery like that, I would be drenched and I'd be fucking destroyed.
Well, see, the thing about it is, I will say there has been numerous of movies that use Adolf Hitler as a comedy joke. And one of them I did mention was Rat Race. Inglourious Bastards was another one. It was a movie that Ryan stated.
Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo
Mhm.
Rabbit, and a lot of
That was
those.
done by a Kiwi.
And Glorious Bastards was done by what's his name? Darn it.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, and he's not
Mhm.
Jewish.
There's this show has gotten a lot of frustration and a lot of outrage on a lot of different fronts.
Right.
Wow.
And the thing is, you are entitled to hate it for this
Actually,
particular
let me pull,
reason.
let
I
me pull
think
this
there's
that
a
way for a second.
bigger
Mhm.
issue at hand with the
Right.
show,
Yeah, smart.
which I think for a lot of people, yeah, it's kind of like lazy shock writing, trying to be like a
Which
Family
is
Guy
another
or a
thing
South
entirely.
Park.
We can get into that one too.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And
yeah.
how this is actually going to be worse for Hanna-Barbera stuff coming forward.
And as far as like the Hitler stuff goes in regards to this, it's lazy. It's pretty much what it is.
It's fucking lazy. It's absolutely fucking lazy because it's about basically being able to throw a couple quick quirks out there and then basically throw out new content that'll be immediately forgotten about as soon as the next 78 pieces of content come out.
Right.
And this is the problem that exists in modern day, cinema, modern day entertainment. There is so much content that they're just spitting new shit out every chance that they can get right now, just to be able to get on and move on to the next thing. Velma was one of the highest rated things HBO Max has ever done. It has already been greenlit for season 2. HBO Max has laid off 30% of their employees and 30% of their staff, but Velma's getting a season 2 because the viewership and the watch minutes are there. Now if you see down below, you see what the numbers were. That is the like and dislike bar for the biggest watched Rings of Power trailer. So I
Right.
don't know if you can see it here. Yeah, unfortunately my head's in the way on that one.
Yeah, and mind you, I don't think Rings of Power deserves that much hate.
Yeah, but you look at that number there where it's 131 to 1.9 million, which is, I don't know, 15 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's Velma. That is about a 35 to 1 ratio.
And to be honest with you, didn't it just come out this weekend?
Uh-huh. I watched both episodes too. It is. Here's the thing. I can work with a lot of certain things on this. You want to make her Asian, race swap. I'm okay with that. I don't typically have a problem with it if it's smart writing. But if it's done for the sake of news and press and just to be able to get a quick little headline, then I have a problem with it. If you have something that is decent quality, you have something that is a decent show, entertainment, has clever anecdotes in there. I don't really care. Society has to change in some regards when it comes to the characters themselves. The cast of Scooby-Doo, all white. You want to change that? Fine. F it. I don't care. I'm cool with that. But there was a lot of things that were thrown in just for the sake of trying to be edgy in today's modern culture. They made her bisexual. They made Daphne. Daphne has 2 moms. Wanda Sykes, I think, plays one of them. Shaggy, who is Norval in this case, fine, whatever, is probably the only arguably likable character on the show.
Fact.
And Velma openly laughs at him when he talks about the fact that he likes her. He legit likes her to the inordinately confusing reason to sell a kidney to give her $500. That is not like. That is either obsessed love or something like that. But you know what? Fine.
Yeah,
She laughed at him over it.
that's simping. That's just pure simping.
That's simping.
No, that's simping. It's not pimping. There's no.
No, that's what I said. It's simping.
Yeah.
No, you said
we've all
pimping.
been friend zoned, all 3 of us. It happened, and it sucks. I'm not gonna lie, but you kind of sympathize with him a little bit in comedic moments because he's trying to pour his heart out there.
Yes.
And
No.
Yes. Yes.
Yo,
No. There is nothing about Norville Shaggy Rogers about this character.
Stop it.
That's true. Yeah, he's not Shaggy, which, like I said,
and that's pretty much, I think, what the biggest
Shaggy
issue
later,
is.
Which, okay, I'm okay if you want to make him Shaggy in season 2 or something. If the show is decent, I'm okay with that. If you want to make him eventually become Shaggy and eventually meet Scooby, I have no problem with that. But you have a series here that pretty much every single character, you don't like them as people. You'd never hang out with any of these people. Norval notwithstanding, I think he's pretty okay. But you look at a lot of characters like, dude, I wouldn't hang out with you.
No, you wouldn't.
Yes, I would.
No, you wouldn't.
Well, it's because you're lonely.
Norville is lame. Velma is a little bit maybe too bitchy for my liking. Daphne,
complained about that.
Daphne, I don't know. Daphne's just kind of like they try to like give her like
Hold
Mean
on, hold on.
Girls vibes.
I'll give you what Daphne is. She's every girl I went to high school with. They try to be popular. They try to shoot down everybody else, but deep down inside, they are ugly.
Mm-hmm. Insecure, and yeah, and you're not wrong on that. That actually is a pretty good explanation, I think, there.
And then Fred
is your typical.
Dude, that was a hate boner complex for that. That when they wrote that character.
Yeah,
that was somebody's basically jilted prom date right there.
No, I'll tell you what it is. Fred was the typical kid that got everything, and we want to make him look bad. He was
They shot him in the leg with both. They shot him in both legs and basically just moved on.
Right.
Listen, the dude chopped the guy's leg off. Is he really that likable?
No, but I would argue he's probably the most entertaining character.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
Because he is so dumb.
He's dumb. And I think the whole concept, and I think people quite missing, is pretty much what relates to today's time. Like, we got all these rich people that are not really intelligent, but they got money to make them feel like they're intelligent.
Yeah.
And that's what Fred is. He's that rich kid that mooch off his family, don't really have to do a dime or anything, don't know how to wash clothes, don't know how to cook for himself, doesn't know how to use utensils.
I grew up in a broke as hell town. I don't know I had no people like this whatsoever. So
no, you may not, but there's other people that did.
Yeah, like I said, I grew up in a town where everyone ate like macaroni and cheese and used Suave shampoo, and put water in the bottle, in order to drag it out. That's what I grew
Suave,
up.
Right?
Yeah,
but for my point, me and you may not had that experience like being around people like that, but I could tell you, once I went to college, and Ryan could say the same thing, you ran into those people.
Yeah.
Listen, my school told me I was too stupid to go to college. They told me don't bother, go become a farmer. I'm not joking.
Dude, let me tell you something. You will be considered the smart. If that was the case, you would be considered at least the average student if you went to college where we all went to. Because there were people that
not back then. Back then, I wouldn't have believed I would have been.
No, you would have. Trust me. Because
I had a stuttering problem to my mid-20s because I was so psychologically insecure. Because I was so convinced I was that freaking stupid that I never actually believed I'd amount to anything. So yeah, college was never an option for me. They told me don't even bother because you're not smart enough. My teachers my guidance counselors told me that. Thanks for high school.
How are we not even 15 minutes into the episode here, and I feel like Scott is so triggered. Like, I don't know if there's anything I can say that'll help.
Dude, I let off with a Hitler joke with this thing,
Yeah.
It's like, listen, let me put this another way. Okay. Mm-hmm. The South Asian community is also, by the way, pissed off at Velma, the show, because of how it makes the token South Asian character or the Indian character look, that loser, insecure, thing going on. If I made a comedy about the famine of Bengal in 1943, where 4 million Bengalis starved to death, would that be societally acceptable?
No.
But again, I come back to it. A Hitler joke is okay, where he killed 6 million Jews. That's okay. But Winston Churchill went on record saying, basically, I hate those beastly people and I hate their beastly religion. The only reason they have a famine is because they procreated like rabbits. Look it up, by the way. I really see Winston Churchill, our hero, said that. True story. So you have that, but that would, and again, I would be blasted and canceled on Twitter into oblivion. I would have to go into witness protection because of basically how badly I would be destroyed by something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the hypocrisy bothers me, because certain people can do certain things and make certain jokes, and it's okay. But you got to pick a lane here in our society. With our society, as humor has changed, and as people are getting to be more sensitive to things, and I'm not going to lie, that's not a thing. You can't pick and choose what people are going to be sensitive to. You either have to go all in or not at all. Right. South Park, Family Guy, they go all in. Well, South Park not so much anymore, but Family Guy still goes all in. And you've accepted that they will trash anyone. But this pick and choose BS, where it's like, okay, we're going to make fun of this culture because they're not going to get that pissed at us. We're not going to touch these guys because they're going to cancel us. This is the problem that I have. It's like, which one is less likely to basically lose their shit over this? And that's the issue that I have with today's culture and today's comedy.
Wow.
All right, I guess this is where I come in as devil's advocate.
I know. You're going to be counter arguing this thing, and I guarantee it. I was waiting for that.
Hold on, let me prep myself.
Here, tell you what. Hang on a sec. Let me put myself on mute.
Okay. Now, I am not condoning Velma in any great frame of mind. I do think that what the show has done and deconstructing, and that's what they've done. They've deconstructed these well-known characters to the point that this easily could have just been a whole different show, and all you did was you painted Mystery Inc. onto them.
Mm-hmm.
All right? There's very little about these characters aside from maybe partial visual looks that pertains to the original characters. Now, some people have brought up the show that used to be on Cartoon Network called Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, which took the original core team and modernized it to an extent.
There's been a few reboots in there. They changed it,
Yeah, they poked fun at its own, bits and pieces of, I guess you'd say stereotypical Velma-ness or Freddy-ness or things that were very pertinent to those characters in the original series. And I love that show. I mean, I thought that what they did with that was pretty spot on, whether it was, having some sort of romance story between Shaggy and Velma or showing how obsessed Fred is with making traps and how he's just kind of this is my thing, it's like, it was fun to point out those foibles and you still made it dark. Yeah, even a pup named Scooby-Doo did things similar to that nature, although I would say
a teenager at that point, but
that one was definitely more kid-friendly, but even that kind of picked on some of the tropes that the characters had. The one, the thing with Freddy always saying that the villain is red herring. Come on, it's like, we know he's not. He never is.
That's what I'm saying. It's okay to change certain things in there.
Yeah,
you had the movies where they take or went into anime. It's like, okay, fine, cool, run with it.
Okay, Scott.
Sorry.
All right,
let Ryan speak.
Sorry.
To be honest, I'm surprised by Mindy Kaling because between the shows like the Mindy Project and stuff that she's done in the past, she's never seemed that kind of person to be like, okay, let's just hate on everybody or something. That always seemed like more of a Sarah Silverman sort of move to me. And actually, speaking of which, we actually had a discussion like this almost, I'd say, a year ago on this show, back when that
Santa Claus thing.
Claymation Christmas show came out on HBO Max.
Remember that?
And that was getting trashed. And as far as I know, there's not going to be a second season of that one either. But that probably didn't raise as much irate competition or as much anger as this show does. And I think a huge portion of it may be people that are just like, oh, you race swapped some of the characters. And, that's not fair because really the race swapping hasn't done anything to these characters. But I would also argue
if you make it
nothing has done anything to these characters. These are some of the lame, they are pretty much 180 degrees from what the characters originally are. This is not the Scooby Gang. All right, this is not Mystery Incorporated. These are some archetypes that pretty much are cosplaying as the Scooby Gang. And to go ahead and say that this is supposed to be a mature take with blood and guts and possibly ghosts and the whole thing with Velma's mother and all that, it's like, I understand you're trying to give a long story, a long form mystery for us to want to follow along. But if you don't make the characters worth watching, I don't care what happened to the mother. I don't care what happens to Freddy in jail. Although I probably will laugh if he ends up going through the typical jail stuff and, he drops a soap, or maybe he doesn't know how to soap himself because he's a man-child. I don't know. But there's a thing that's there's very little that's keeping me. I almost want to watch it just to see how much further they will go because, like Scott said, you either throw everything at the wall and you hate on everything, or you don't. I think this show is trying to go that level, and all we've seen is 2 episodes. Chances are that that's only going to be like maybe another 4 or
I think it's
6
8
in the
episodes.
lineup.
Is what the 8 or 10? I think they're doing.
Yeah. So standard filler, because the only reason this show is coming out now is because it's filler until we get to the second part of Doom Patrol Season 4, Part 2.
Well, TV shows now in general don't really go past 8 or 10 episodes anymore because it's all about new content.
Right.
You know, we're getting grandfather stuff like Blue Bloods or Law and Order or like Blacklist. Things that do 22. Everything now is 6, 8, 10, or the occasional 13 because it's all about moving on to the next content. And that's all our society is now into in a TikTok generation.
Right. And I would say, like, as far as this show is, this is a show that's made to rile people up. That is exactly what it's not doing anything unconventional. It's shock drama. It's shock humor. It's trying to be like Howard Stern, but not being Howard Stern.
But a bad version of it.
Yeah.
Stern was at least fun with a lot of the stuff he did.
Like this is the kind of show that's probably going to go ahead and make Scooby-Doo like some, white-haired chihuahua, just because it's like the antithesis of what Scooby would be.
But that's funny. If we're going to make Scooby-Doo not be a Great Dane, let's make it a Schnauzer. Because
I really think they're going to make Scooby-Doo like the Barney of an imagination friend, because they'd be on so much drugs to the point that they'd be like,
but no. Norval doesn't do drugs. They made it very serious. Made it very clear.
Oh yeah, no. Norval can kick rocks. All right, I'm sorry. He is whiter than any white character in this show. All right,
I take a paw from that.
Norville is lame. He is lame.
I don't know. I thought he. You know what? I felt like Norval was like the every guy. You look at him and you're like, I can
exactly. He's the every guy. He's as milk and toast as you can possibly get. The man is nothing. He is vacuous. He has no personality except a boner for Velma. That is it.
But everybody else is just terrible, in one way or another. Right. That you look at Norval and you're like, okay. Because like I said, all of us have been that every person where you silent crushed on someone and then you finally came forward, said how you feel, and they're like, thank you. And you're like, oh,
okay,
or
but
your friends up. We've all had that,
right? Even in comedies, this trope goes fast. All right. Once you've seen him try and fail a couple of times, you are already like, okay, I see where this is going.
I mean, yes, he actually.
Do you want to see him pining away for Velma on every episode? That is his character arc.
No, but I like the fact that basically they humanized him a little bit.
Right.
I would have preferred if they went the other way. If you want to go raunchy, dude, make Shaggy do heroin. All right, make him a full-out druggie, not just a pothead.
That
all right, let him be trying everything.
That might be
That's when he starts seeing Scooby-Doo, because it becomes a figment of his drug-addled imagination.
Ryan, no.
What? Yes,
you're trying to make the normal person that's black.
Well, that's another thing too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But see, that's the thing. All right, you're gonna go ahead and make him as sweet and endearing and possible just because you did decide to change the character's race and origin.
Look at
now
me.
You have to clean up everything about him.
Look at me. I'm not.
Yes, you're normal, Dad. Is that what
you're but that's what I'm saying. Like it's almost like plot armor. It's like, because we've changed this aspect about him, which didn't need to be changed, now we have to change everything about the character and thus do away with something or pretty much everything that made the character recognizable.
I got
you. The munchies are gone. The likes are gone. The hippiness, the scarediness, all gone.
But here's the thing. I think they're going a different route where they're doing an alternate version of the Scooby game.
But this isn't alternate. This is like the multiverse, where this is like the world where it's like completely flipped.
Dave, let me ask you something. I mean, listen, Ryan and I, we're pasty, overweight white dudes, so we don't qualify in this. What I'm about to ask you.
Hey, I'm curvy.
Same here. Okay, plus size. Is the term is, I guess. In this case here, making Norval. I keep trying to say it Shaggy. Norval, African American, fine. Like I said, that's cool. Like I said, he's the only likable character on the show to me. If they made him a drug-addled dude or being like, some kind of a trope there, where it's like the black guy trope. What's your take if that had actually happened?
If they do that, I think that a whole bunch of us will get pissed off big time, because it's like you're stereotyping us in a way that, you think that all black people is drug addicts, thugs in the street. And I'm going to be honest, that's how it would be an image of. And I think they went the right route with Norval / Shaggy, because if they would have pushed that envelope, I think this show would have got canceled.
But so you can do the racial stuff to a white guy like Freddy, but you can't do racial stuff to
kind of the point I had
character like Norville.
That's kind of the point I had before. Yeah. You can't pick. You got to go all in or not at all.
Right. Correct. If you're going to do one, you do it for all the characters. If you're going to race swap them, then do all the racial stuff for them. If that's the route you want to go, and instead of like trying to pick and choose who to protect, then what are you really trying to say? It's saying that you have favoritism.
But here's the other counter to that, because now that you got Norval.
If it was Norbit, it'd be a different story.
Yeah, that's a different franchise right there.
Yeah,
if it was Eddie Murphy in a fat suit on this show.
That was close, but go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
But like I said, if it was Norval, pretty much the other count. Okay, now I got my thought back. Okay, the other counter is you could still make fun of the token black guy who's supposed to be Shaggy, because you could play with the relationship that he has with Velma. You could play with the whole aspect of him trying to be separate from the stereotype. So there is comedy in that aspect.
But have they touched on that?
Not yet. To the episode, we don't know.
Yeah.
So then, as of right now, you're speaking in hypotheticals.
Correct.
You're hoping the show will go this route, as opposed to just looking at the 2 episodes that we've had so far and judging them.
You can let me know if it does.
Well, Scott, did you ever watch the second episode?
Oh yeah, I did. I watched.
Okay.
Where he's actually sitting. I already knew about this, but where he's so pampered, he doesn't know how to actually cut a steak.
Right. Where they try to make him like a bouncing little baby boy, and then all of a sudden the sprinkler starts and he goes all Hitler.
Yeah. Which again, back to my original point.
But see, that's the thing. Look, either you do shock comedy, which shock comedy is a thing. Shock comedy is absolutely a thing. Mel Brooks has been doing it for years. Certainly Trey Parker, Matt Stone, Seth MacFarlane, people who pretty much
Archer
work in that realm. Yeah, you do it. Seth Rogen, I think famously has dipped his toe in that well, whether it's when he's doing serious shows like, say, Preacher, or when he's doing comedy things like, Sausage Party. There are ways you can do shock, but if you're going to shock, you go all in.
Right.
You go as Don Rickles on this thing as you possibly can.
That's what I'm saying. That's the Family Guy, like I said, is kind of that way.
You don't have favorites, and you don't change something and say that it's something else. You call it what it is.
Yeah.
This is not Shaggy. Velma is not Velma.
Well, see, yeah, listen, that part is okay. Like I said, the race swapping thing, again, I don't really have a problem with it necessarily.
I'm not even talking about the race swapping.
The race
means nothing in context of things. That's the whole point. You do it just because.
Talking about that, by the way, just to point that out. So
we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, that's going to be happening.
Yeah. So, guys, I will have to let you. I would say this will be the first and last time you will see me on the show talking about Scooby.
You answered the question that I really wanted to get answered. And that's I know you got the other show to do. That's fine. But you answered the question that I really wanted a non-white perspective on. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Right. Because to be honest with you, real quick, I guess they had to go that route because they don't want no more additional drama within the Black community.
You can be edgy, but without being destroyed.
Correct. So, on my interpretation, they had to basically water this guy down.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, and that's probably what it is. Like I said, that's that selective thing. Who can we offend without actually like cutting into our profits? So it's all about the bank. Listen, I'm going to tell basically, Day, I know you got to go. That's okay. But Ryan, I'm going to tell you a story about something that happened to me last week on a film set. It was not Severance. Severance, by the way, original props to that.
So peace, everybody.
Catch you later, man.
See you, Day.
So that's an interesting approach there.
Don't.
So, you know, I mean, Severance, like I said, is intriguing. You know, Ted Lasso is intriguing for different reasons. It's a little bit of a trope in this case, the fish out of water, fine. I was on a film set last week that was not either one of those. And it was a single scene where it's centered around a group of high profile, very wealthy, very affluent white people looking straight down at a woman who is trapped under a low glass ceiling. This is a show, if I mentioned it, you would know what it is. But I don't know if necessarily you got the reference to what I was saying with this particular scene. But this is about how subtle television has gotten these days. You got a half a dozen white guys looking down. You know, like I said, maybe you picked up on the glass ceiling thing, maybe you didn't. But this is the level to what some TV shows will go to nowadays to get a point across.
And some people can do it artistically, and some people can do it
pretty much
just flying in the face. But it becomes the question, is there enough love to want to have people watch next week for a show? And no. I think regardless of the numbers that they got this week with the first 2 episodes, what next week, or this week actually, and the numbers that come from that will be a telling tale.
Here's the other thing that I want to mention in this case here, and I want to pull this up because this, you can't really see it too well in this particular case, but I'm going to do what I can here. This is the list per Wikipedia, by the way, of the various shows that are, in fact, Hanna-Barbera. Okay?
Okay.
So if you look at this, you know, 1957,
right, Rough and Ready, Flintstones, Huckleberry Hound.
They did what did, and I'm just going to keep scrolling, not even looking at it. Look at the camera here.
Space
They
Race.
did what they did to Scooby-Doo.
Fred and Barney.
Look at all of the ones that they can do.
Well, okay.
You know, Powerpuff Girl, I mean, Cow and Chicken, I Am Weasel, Dexter's Lab, which also is, you know, is part Cartoon Network, by the way, is owned by HBO Max. So they have all of these IPs that they can be like, you know what, we can make these guys just as edgy, or we can make them more edgy than what Mindy King did to Scooby-Doo. And don't think some of them aren't going to try. So you're going to see, I mean, like Fred and Barney meet the Shmoo. Okay, Flintstones, fine. You could have a Flintstones that will attempt deliberately to out Velma Scooby-Doo, or, you know, in this case. You know, Casper hasn't been touched in a while. You know, Challenge of the Super Friends. Okay, maybe something in there too. But there's so much here. Jabberjaw I'm looking at. You know, I mean, this is just
Jabberjaw would be fun.
Yeah. Hong Kong Phooey, which I'm not even sure you can do anything with that now. Yeah. The Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan. By the way, who was voiced by Jodie Foster was one of the voices on that, believe it or not.
And that was based off Charlie Chan, right?
Yes. So you have all of these that are suddenly at the disposal of DC and HBO Max. So, you know, my question in this case here, and maybe I should have done it through PowerPoint.
No, I think that was just straight up Wikipedia.
That was Wikipedia. I just scrolled through.
All right.
So in this case, like I said, there is so much there that basically, again, your childhood can be completely destroyed for the interest of shock value for like adult. This isn't your daddy's Jetsons anymore. No, we're going to make Trump references. You know, in a futuristic society, we're going to sit there and we're going to throw every trope we can just to be more edgy than what was there. So I mentioned this before the show. The bar, South Park did an episode where the bar had dropped with Honey Boo Boo. Honey Boo Boo is like here where everything else is down to here now. The Learning Channel has MILF Manor, where a bunch of single moms try and hook up with, like cubs, if you will. It is called MILF Manor.
Oh, and I know the twist is the younger men that they get to choose from is all of their sons.
Yeah, there's something in there too. I mean, listen, I'm not even touching that one. But the point being is that every single network is now trying to outshock the previous one. So that is all it is about now. So it's a matter of what's going to come next. What thing from your childhood are they going to be like, shh, goodbye?
See, here's the thing. I've never copped to the idea of television or movies ruining my childhood if they've gone ahead and taken something that I did watch when I was younger and retooled it or revamped it. It's either similar or it's not.
I mean, look, DuckTales. I'm going to use DuckTales as an example. DuckTales on Disney was fantastic.
Yeah.
I was a kid, with the original Alan Young one where he was Scrooge McDuck. I loved every aspect of DuckTales. The reboot. I mean, it made me laugh when it had to. It made me cry when it had to. I mean, when Della sat there and sang the lyrics to the Moon theme, I'm sitting there watching that in tears. My wife just handed me a tissue box, and she didn't judge, which credit to Robin on that.
I'm glad she didn't, because I might have.
Dude, you know what? Well, but like I said, it hit in every field it was supposed to hit. You rooted for those characters. You rooted for her to get back. This was an example of a reboot that 100% worked.
Right.
But now it's all a matter of get the next one, get the next one, get the next one, and just fire the next thing out there. Velma will be forgotten about in a few weeks. Within a week or two, I think people are going to be already moving on to the next thing. Last of Us is an example. The Super Bowl is coming up. So Velma is quick news now to get the views to move on to the next project. Rings of Power is forgotten about at this point. How many months has it been? She-Hulk is forgotten about at this point. How many months has it been? Velma was going to go the same way.
Well, it's a matter of whether or not you make something for shock or you make something that ends up being shocking. Like, I don't think the people that made Rings of Power or made She-Hulk were trying to make anything necessarily abrasive. It happened to find an audience that ended up being abrasive. Velma, on the other hand, is made to be abrasive. It is made to push
But
buttons.
badly done.
And unfortunately, it's pushing too many at once or not enough at once. I don't know what, but it's not enough to necessarily keep me, drawn in. Whereas people, unfortunately, are even complaining about The Last of Us. Now, Last of Us just premiered yesterday, and from what everyone has said, it's incredible. It's fantastic. It's practically a perfect one-to-one representation of the video game. And yet there are still some people that are upset about it because of slight little changes that they did here and there. I think some of it detailing the daughter that dies in the beginning of, as beginning of the game, you find out his daughter dies, his real daughter dies.
Spoiler.
Yeah, well, I mean,
not really spoiler, but spoiler.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's why I don't have an appeal to watch it, because if this is going to be a one-to-one representation of the game, it's like, I've played the game, I've seen people play the game, I've seen people play the sequel. It's like, I know what the storyline is going to be. If this is going to be a one-to-one representation, I don't see there being much thrillingness to go along to make me want to watch it. It just seems like it's going to be another Walking Dead. And even The Walking Dead went ahead and made changes even in the first season as to who lived, who died, that sort of thing. This seems like it's going to take the course strictly from the video game, which is great. And, scenic wise and acting wise, Pedro Pascal, good for him between this and The Mandalorian. He is like everyone's daddy this year, so good on him. But I just don't have the interest to watch something that I know how it's going to end. I don't know if that's the case for everybody else.
We'll have to see what ends up happening there. Yeah.
Yeah. If by the time the season ends and there's a lot of uproar or discourse that they did this or did that or did something different, then I would be intrigued to want to go ahead and watch it, simply because I want to see what they changed, why they changed it, more so than just race swapping again. People, look, I'm going to say this to the general audiences out there. If this gets shared or not, if people see this or not, fine. But here's the thing. If you are truly pissed off about characters being race swapped, why? What is it going to do to you that
You
they
know,
are race swapped if they are still the same character as before and they just wanted to go ahead and get this actor to portray the character as opposed to this actor?
here's the thing
What's the
again,
big freaking deal?
it depends because if it's done just for the sake of doing it, a lot of people. It's funny. I see a lot of complaints in the black community, believe it or not, came about because they made Norval black just for the sake of making him black. They didn't add anything to the character. They didn't change anything. And the biggest complaint that I saw from a lot of them was, well, why did you have to take in a pre-existing character? Why don't you just create something new?
Right.
And my answer to that is that takes too long. This is a fast food culture, so you got to basically quick bow up something, release it as 1.1, 1.01 version, and oh yeah, by the way, you have, a gay, trans, Asian, black attack helicopter or something, just for the sake of doing that, to be edgy because it's all about the news. And it's, because again, you look at certain things that are out there, people would never really paid attention, I think, to Rings of Power if it hadn't been for the so-called outrage. I say so-called because a lot of these companies have extremely they pay a ton of money for PR groups that know how to get press. And there's a term, actually I saw there was a female PhD in the Indian community, actually I can't remember her name, but I heard the phrase fan baiting. And what it is you deliberately make changes to a character to get a small portion of people who are legit pissed off, and then blow that up for news coverage. Where
But
you would
it
never have
just
heard this
seems
thing
silly.
anywhere else.
But I'm not saying it's silly for them to go ahead and do the race swapping as long as it's still
If it's
the
smart,
character
fine.
itself.
But if it's done for the sake of doing it, then I have a problem. If
No,
you
I'm almost
yeah.
fine with them doing it for the sake of doing it because then it's giving other actors who wouldn't necessarily be able to play the characters simply because of their skin color. It gives other actors an opportunity to portray these characters in their, entirety. As long as
Again,
the character is kept straight, then fine. If like going back to the whole Norville thing, the fact is you went ahead and you changed the color of Shaggy Rogers.
mhm.
But then you also changed everything that makes Shaggy Shaggy.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So what was the point of changing anything? I would have preferred if he was still a druggie, and if you wanted to make him black and you wanted to do something different than him just being a pothead, okay, that's pushing the envelope, certainly. But to just do this and change everything about him, then it's not Shaggy anymore. Yeah, okay, it's Norville. I don't care about Norville. I care about Shaggy. Shaggy is interesting. Shaggy keeps me watching. Norville doesn't do a thing for me. And that's the thing with The Last of Us. At least with the color swap of certain characters, they're still the same characters that you saw in the game.
Mhm.
Which, mind you, it's different when it's like a video game because I mean, hell, a video game can be altered at any time. You put any kind of mod into a video game, before you know it,
Oh
you're,
yeah.
you're not playing as like these two. You could be like Yogi Bear and Boo Boo. Yogi's trying to get Boo Boo across the
Have you
planet.
played Mugen or Mugen?
Yeah. The last of our picnic baskets. That's what you want to call it. That games can always be modified. Skin texture on a character in a video game is merely a couple of zeros and ones. Can be altered at any time. So I don't take anything in a video game to heart. And really, people shouldn't in that case either, as long as the characters are still being portrayed and the drama is still there, because that was what made The Last of Us so
Mhm.
great. It
Yes.
was the storytelling, it was the narrative, it was the drama of the situation. It wasn't the hiding, it wasn't the gun crafting, it wasn't the, how many, clickers or whatever are going to be over on that side of the room. It's not even the fireflies. It's the drama. It's the story. And as long as every character does their part, that is what is important. Does not matter what they look like.
Yeah. This, by the way, I wanted to bring up this one real quick. This is the Last of Us fan film from about 10 years ago.
Okay.
That was done by Iron Horse Cinema. It picked up about 870 views or 870,000 views back 2010, 11 kind of thing like that.
All right.
So this, by the way, is I forget what her name is, but Jeff Moffat's the guy that actually plays the main guy in Last of Us here. It kind of went over. So this is not technically the first time that they've done Last of Us. This one was done previously. And you know what? The only reason I bring it up, this is his house. The house that I'm in is that guy's house.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's Jeff Moffat. That's the guy that actually owns this house. And he did this video for Iron Horse Cinema back in, or actually, he was the founder of Iron Horse Cinema. And they picked up nearly 1 million views on that. Their Five Nights at Freddy's stuff did a lot better than this did. But yeah, but that's why I figure, you know what? We're talking Last of Us. You know, give some love to the fan film. Give some love to Jeff in this case.
Maybe,
I'm literally
maybe he'll lower your rent. I don't know.
No, we rented out the garage now, so it's a little higher. But we had to put the 66 in there, the 66 Plymouth in there. But yeah, like I said, I want to give a little bit of love to Jeff and everybody from Iron Horse Cinema on that, because honestly, it is a really, really good short film. You know,
Right.
a really good fan film that they did back in the day. So
yeah, and that's great. You know, I mean, in all honesty, The Last of Us doesn't seem like it's a hard adaptation to make. All you have to do is have a rundown city, and you have to have, you know, people looking in distress in a zombified sort of dystopian future. We saw that in The Walking Dead. We saw that in Z Nation. We saw that in a lot of clones of those kinds of shows. Essentially the same thing, only they're not really zombies. They're just like, you know, a whole different type of creature. But outside of that, it's pretty much hitting on a lot of the same notes.
yeah.
Now, take in comparison something like Halo, when they made that adaptation
The
on
Amazon one,
Paramount Plus.
Or Paramount, yeah.
Yeah. What do they do with Master Chief the first minute they have him?
They showed him.
Yes, they take off the damn helmet.
Dude, well, that was the same. Okay, that was the same problem. We went on this one with Avatar: The Last Airbender movie. It took 3 seasons before you saw what Fire Lord Ozai looked like, and in the first 10 minutes, there he is. You know,
well, because they were trying to set up sequels and stuff. Sure, they've, you know, God forbid they actually go ahead and stretch things out.
You know,
but they were
to
like,
a minor degree, I'm actually a little annoyed with the Netflix series because they announced Daniel Day Kimmel playing Fire Lord Ozai. I know what that dude looks like. Now I know what Fire Lord Ozai looks like. The animation, all you heard was Mark Hamill's voice, you know, in a very subdued, more sinister version, like more controlled, psychotic version of the Joker. But you never knew what this dude looked like for almost 3 seasons.
well, it's like kind of what they did with Thanos in the MCU. It's like at first all you saw was like that little bit of a, forgive the pun, grimace at the end of Avengers.
Yes.
It was a long time before you saw anything substantial. It was even longer before you even heard his voice.
And that's what Marvel did so well early on, that slow burn buildup. Even with like the first ones, you know, because I mean, you had, Iron Man, and then you had Nick Fury, and then you had Thor, and you had Coulson in there. You had little things that teased like the next level.
Right. That's why I don't really have a thrill for something like The Last of Us, simply because there isn't going to be much buildup for me. I know what happens. People who played the sequel know what happens.
Yeah, you can read it on Wikipedia right now if you wanted to.
Look, I almost would have preferred, and I told this to Davion earlier today just in conversation, if they had taken The Last of Us and they had placed the series in between the games and showed what happened to them between that space,
clever.
in the open space where anything was possible.
Or even possibly even a prequel.
Possibly. You know, I mean, I know Resident Evil tried to do something similar to that with its take on Netflix. That was pretty much like a prequel.
That was a fail of its own right.
right. That was a little bit different. But, you know, with these video game adaptations, you almost have to wonder how much can be changed and how much can stay of the original. Where can we go? What stories can we tell? And which ones should we stay away from? And that's always, I think, been the issue with a lot of video game adaptations, because some video game adaptations, they will take the original story and either they will go by the book with it to the point where it's like, well, what's the point of watching this? I already played the game. I already know what it is. Or they will go so far left that it's like, this doesn't even have any connection.
Now, let me give an example of the second one first, the latter first. The first 3 Bourne movies.
Okay.
They deviated. Did you ever read the original books?
No, I didn't.
They are 95% different from the movies themselves, because the main antagonist in the books is a guy named Carlos the Jackal. The Bourne movie.
Jackal is a jackal.
Yeah, exactly. But my point in this case here, he's the main buildup throughout that entire thing. Outside of everything that's been going on with the agency, him trying to find out his past, the main baddie was completely wiped out, and they changed the entire story to make the movies. They got rid of everything that Ludlum had done, and just basically took the character and did it fresh and made it work. So it can be done in the right format.
Right.
If you look at the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which is considered like the holy grail of like adaptations, there were changes made. Tom Bombadil was pulled out. The elves assisting at the Battle of Helm's Deep never happened in the book. There were certain changes that happened. Eowyn was not really introduced much until the very end. Changes happened throughout, but it still worked anyway, because they took the book itself and made it interesting with their own format. What's happening, like I said, the biggest problem now is they're just saying, hey, Last of Us, this is Last of Us. We're doing a show on Last of Us.
Well, see, I think there's a difference there, because the examples that you gave were pretty much books. And with books, especially ones that don't have pictures in them, your imagination is pretty much just what you have derived from what you're reading.
And whatever
Any kind of
Tolkien
imagery,
had drawn
any
out,
kind of
like maps and
setup,
such,
any kind of like direction is all in your own mind. So you can pretty much build it up as much as you would like. And anyone doing any kind of adaptation of that is always going to be different from what you've built up in your own mind.
True.
This, on the other hand, not only do you have the blueprint for the series, you have the game. You have the step-by-step basis. You have the events as they go along. You have the ending. You know who dies. You know who lives.
Which makes it easier to come up with the content, because
Right.
you already have a complete
But in doing
blueprint.
so, you also have to make it galvanizing enough that it's like, okay, why do I want to watch this show as opposed to just play the game myself?
Or the 78 billion other options that you have out there these days.
Right. Now, you take something like The Walking Dead. Now, The Walking Dead, from its like first episode, it was similar and yet different from the graphic novel series. It was different from the comics. They've made changes all throughout that series. I mean, even just the induction of Norman Reedus' character, who apparently is going to have his own spin-off now.
Yes, they're already filming that right now. I think
is going to have a spin-off
now.
now. And we still have the Rick Grimes movies that are coming out, which he should have been dead a long time ago, but they're keeping him alive. It's fine if you're taking like a concept like that and you're doing enough different that it's like, okay, well, I watched the comic, I read it, I know who should be dead. Why isn't he dead? Where are they going with this? I am intrigued. Yes.
Like I said,
it may be great filmmaking, but it's just, I wonder if they're actually going to do anything that's going to make me be like, okay, well, this is different. So far, I haven't seen that.
In their defense, and now I'm totally coming to the defense of HBO Max here, in their defense, if they do deviate, fans get pissed off at the deviation. So they do struggle a little bit towing that line. And I think right now the issue is that the writers themselves don't necessarily have the experience to be able to toe the line properly. I don't have knowledge of actually who the writers are on this. If they played the games, if they're familiar with it, you see a lot of times in Hollywood where they're like, yeah, we're not touching it. Dragon Ball Evolution. They deliberately got away from the source material specifically. In this case, I don't know. She-Hulk's biggest problem, one of the biggest problems it had, was the fact that the people that wrote it admitted they never wrote a legal drama before. That is a terrible decision, because if you're going to have attorney at law in your title, maybe you should have some people that had some experience maybe writing Law and Order before.
Right, but it was a comedy and almost a spoof on such things.
Yeah, but the point is they made so many mistakes on that attorneys were like, dude, this is just no.
Okay, but I don't think anyone was going to She-Hulk for accuracy in the world of law.
But I think in some cases you do want that sort of thing. I mean, Law and Order, for example, say, not my cup of tea, but they are very, very good when it comes to the law. They are very strong in that. They understand the police procedure. Their entire squad, their entire writers room are people that come from that kind of background. The consultants that they have, the technical consultants that they have made that a seamless process, episode after episode, year after year.
Well, yeah, as a drama, I would expect them to. I wouldn't expect it from the people who did Ally McBeal.
Yeah, but they didn't do Ally McBeal either.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's like if you're going to do a comedy, you focus on the comedy. You don't focus on the law stuff.
But then take the law out of your title. You know, I mean, here's the funny. Robin's a veterinarian. This is a funny thing. She watches sometimes those veterinarian shows that are out there, and she is like, "Yeah, you don't do that. You don't do that. You don't do that." She picks apart so many things about what is done on television that she's like, "You never do." There's whatever. What is that game? There's that hospital game. I think it was with the Wii, where you have to do surgeries and such, and sew up people.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Have to
She hates
use
that
the
game because it's like
remote.
so medically bad in every friggin' possibility. It's like you don't. This is out of order. You don't do this. And it pisses her off because it's like, dude, you're not. You're so inaccurate here.
Okay, but I would hate to go to the doctor who learned surgery off of playing a game, though. I'm
But
not going to that person for
they do
seriousness.
use it though, believe it or not. That has been a training tool. I am not joking. Look that up. That game has been a training tool for surgeons.
Well, I am not going to anyone that graduated from there.
There's probably a reason why basically hospitals are the third leading cause of death in the United States. Heart attack and cancer are 1 and 2. I forget what the order is. Number 3, medical screw ups. Look that one up, by the way, in your your Wikipedia.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like I'm not playing Crazy Taxi to learn how to be an Uber driver. It's like
there is a statistical correlation to basically people watching Fast and Furious movies and driving more aggressively. That one's also a statistical fact. So
that I wouldn't be surprised by because everyone wants to be part of the family.
Oh,
but
by the way, thank you. Yeah, people are influenced by what they watch, man. So
is that the name of the game, Medic?
Medic, I guess so. Yeah. Thank you. But yeah, no, it's funny because, like I said, this is part of the reason why I think personally, a lot of people are shying away from U.S. television. Why things like Lucy Lawless has a murder mystery called My Life is Murder out of Australia. It is apparently it's on Acorn TV. It's doing really well. A lot of British television, a lot of Australian television, anime. My God, I mean, even my God, K-pop, K anime, V anime, C anime, just an Asian anime.
I don't think you just put the letter before anime. Not
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. I don't know what it's called because I mean, you got J-pop, K-pop, C-pop. I don't know what the version is for like Chinese anime or like Korean. I don't know what the term is. So you try to work
you
with
just say that it's anime from that country. It's still
Okay.
all anime. It's still the
Okay.
same style.
I don't know what it was. Don't troll me on that. I'm just, like I said, but my point is, I think a lot of people are going in that direction because they're tired of what is being put out here.
Well, I think we also saw a good amount of that during the Golden Globes when we were going through those nominations we mentioned. Out of all the nominations, like only something like ABC had maybe any nominations from any terrestrial network, not NBC, not CBS, not Fox,
Streaming
not
stuff, yeah.
CW. Very few of the cable ones. The rest of it were streaming. And then with streaming, you get more of a well-rounded worldwide audience. You get things
Severance
that
did
are
not win
probably
anything,
be
and
a
I know
little
they're
bit more
pissed off about it.
palatable, not just to Americans, but to other countries as well.
Yeah, it's funny actually. Severance held off their shooting schedule. They took a 3-week break. They made it a 4-week break because of the Golden Globes.
Right.
Because they were nominated 3 times, so they wanted to push it back for a week. Watch the Golden Globes, see if they won anything. They didn't win anything, and they started back up.
No, but it's still great to be nominated.
Yeah. So, yeah, the Mandalorian season 3 trailer is actually coming out during the.
Yeah, it should be coming out tonight.
The Bucks Cowboys game, yeah. Which, by the way, if you're paying any attention right now, the Cowboys are up 18-0 on the Bucks. Holy crap!
Cowboys. Who are they playing?
The Bucks in Tampa, and possibly Tom Brady's last game in Tampa.
Well, Lord knows he needs to make money because he won't have Giselle's money.
If I was going to say that, and also however much that alimony is going to be.
Who?
Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 kids in there too. But I don't know.
He's making a real Buccaneer and start pirating some ships.
He's got that movie with Jane Fonda, Sally Field, Lily Tomlin.
Oh, don't get me started on 80 for Brady. Don't.
Yeah, it's 80 for Brady. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I took my mother to the movies over the holidays. I took her to see The Whale.
Okay.
Of the trailers that played before that movie, the only trailer she enjoyed was 80 for Brady. And I'm like, you're going to tell me that's the movie that would actually interest you out of all the other stuff, all the drama and other stuff, key made movies from like A24 and all that stuff. You're going to go for 80 for Brady. She's like, it looked funny. I'm like, God help, how are we related?
Yeah. I mean, look, here's the thing. I'll check it out when it comes here because Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda. I love Grace and Frankie.
Well, yeah, my mother watches that. That's probably the only
Grace
reason I
and
can think
Frankie
that
was
she'd be interested.
that cast of the two of them plus Martin Sheen and Sam Waterston. I thought that four group there was phenomenal, and even the accessory characters like Ethan Embry and all the other ones that are there, June Diane Raphael. I was a big fan of that show. I loved it. I loved the ending. I loved so much about that, and to see 80 for Brady and see them in that alongside Sally Field, I'm like, you know what? I will check this out when it becomes available. I'm not going to see it in theaters, but I will happily check it out because it's got my intrigue, and okay. But again, it ties into the whole thing. Is it just some retread of what we've seen before? Like you talked about the concern with Last of Us, or is it something that's so out of left field, outlandish like Velma was, where you piss off fans the other way? I think it's kind of original. I don't know. I'll have to find out, but,
well, the thing is, okay, as much as I want to say it's original, there always seems to be like one movie every year where it's like, oh, old people can do this too. This is that movie.
Well, that was kind of the joke of Grace and Frankie is they're getting too old to be able to do really anything.
Well, yeah, I mean there has been movies like that, like there's the Book Club, which is getting a sequel.
Yeah.
There was
Golden Girls.
the one where they tried to be cheerleaders. There was the one where what is it? Morgan Freeman moves into an old folks' home and starts a rivalry with somebody over.
That was with Jack Nicholson, I think, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was Jack Nicholson or someone else, but I remember it not doing so well.
There was a
But
couple.
yeah, there's always like one old folks movie. There's one every year.
Well, yeah, because you got to get that. You got to get that boomer crowd. And by the way, I hate the word boomer. It was
well, you're not a boomer. I'm not a boomer.
Dave's no, I know.
A boomer. We shouldn't worry.
Listen, they're already attacking Gen X as the next boomer, so we're getting trolled for our generation as well. So,
well, yeah, because Gen Z is essentially 2 generations under you, so you would get it. I'm gonna have to worry about the generation that comes after Gen Z.
The alphas, yeah, I know it's gonna be interesting that way.
Is that what they're calling them?
I believe it's Generation Alpha. Yeah.
Oh God, they're already gonna be calling themselves alphas.
Yeah, I think alpha, beta. What is it? Theo, whatever the alphabet is. I don't know.
Oh God, I don't want to do
freaking Zeta males, Omicron males.
Just the thought of the word alone, I don't want to deal with alphas.
Chucky season 3 too. Okay. Well, see, that's like I said. You got Brad Dourif. Credit to Brad Dourif. He's had a really good career.
Okay, yeah. Side note: Chucky season 3 is going into the works. Apparently, a Jersey original now.
Is it really?
Yeah, we've talked about this in one episode last season. Chucky says that he's from Jersey.
You know who else is actually a Jersey character? Bob's Burgers. They're actually from Central Jersey.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the Bob's Burgers characters are from the shore of New Jersey. It's a fake town, but it's like by Asbury Park.
So wait, the wharf is supposed to be Asbury Park? I always thought it was more of like a Coney Island thing.
So, let's see if
hold on, bring that up. I always thought they were trying to go more Coney Island, or maybe like the wharf over in California or something like that.
Let me see if all right. I've got it on here. I got proof here. How well can you read that? Okay.
Bob's Burgers is the restaurant owned by Bob Belcher. Sometimes gets bullied by some people, and Linda Belcher, which is conveniently located on Ocean Avenue in Seymour's Bay, North Jersey Shore, North Jersey.
In New Jersey, yeah. Bob's Burgers takes place in Jersey.
I question the legitimacy of this, but I mean, it is fandom. Fandom does. So wait, Bob's Burgers is Jersey?
Yes.
Wow. Oh, I look at that show completely different now.
Okay, here's another proof of that. Go away.
Yeah, I wonder what Wagstaff is supposed to be then.
Oops. Let me see if I can pull this guy up too. Oh God, we're big. Sorry about that.
I mean, the Italian restaurant across from Bob's Burgers does have like a different air about it now if it is Jersey.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm looking at IMDb. It's revealed that the characters live in New Jersey, as it was shown in the episode "It Snakes a Village." So if you can see that right down in the middle there, I got the new G highlighted.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
like I said,
strictly from IMDb?
This is IMDb, yeah. So.
Okay. So we get to claim Bob's. Technically, I also feel like we should have claimed Springfield a long time ago for The Simpsons, but
there's like 7 Springfields though.
So, yeah, no, there's too many places.
Megas XLR, Aqua Teen Hunger Force of South Jersey.
Well, yeah, I know Megas XLR.
Living here in Jersey, definitely. Fighting villains from afar. God, that show was awesome.
Just Carl from Aqua Teen being like a Giants fan.
Oh yeah.
Alone.
Dude, they actually used to do video where whoever the voice was, he'd sit there and talk and basically narrate the Giants season as Carl. And they would animate it with like stock animation and everything.
And that sounds good.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, but he's in there. It's like, Daniel friggin' Jones threw another 4 interceptions. I hate this guy. What is he even here for anymore? Why do we actually have it? Can we trade him for a bag of donuts and maybe some Taylor ham?
That's why you hit him with the shampoo.
So, and Haddonfield, that's South Jersey too, yeah. Where it's actually, I'm sorry, it's Pork Roll down there. But yeah, no, if you look it up, it's definitely there where they've got Carl Berton and Onalewski.
Wow, I am just floored by all this,
dude. Yeah, Jersey represent. Okay, I may blow your mind. One more thing here. I saw a map there. The most famous fictional character in each state. Do you know who the most famous fictional character is from Jersey?
The most famous fictional character?
Yeah, every state has like Napoleon Dynamite is like Idaho, for example.
I mean, there's quite a few that you could mention. You could mention Tony Soprano. You could mention Jay and Silent Bob. I mean, you could even mention Jason Voorhees, really.
Nope.
Who is it? No.
Can you see it there? You can see basically fictional characters. There's an arrow pointing from New Jersey into like the water, and you see Harrison Ford's head.
Indiana Jones is from Jersey?
He's from Princeton, sir. He actually teaches at Princeton.
Well, okay. No, well, hold on. That doesn't necessarily count. All right, just because you teach at Princeton doesn't mean that's where you're from.
He's the most famous fictional character in Jersey.
Okay, but teaching at Princeton doesn't mean you're from Princeton.
But I'm saying, but he ties it to Princeton in this case. So
I don't think anyone from the movie even mentions that's Princeton that he's working at.
It's never mentioned in that, but I think it may have mentioned in the books or something.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think it's ever really mentioned in the movies. You just see a college. That's it.
So you can find it. Let's see.
Oh, that's right. Beavis and Butthead are from Texas.
This is, by the way, the official Indiana Jones wiki. In 1899, Indiana Jones was born in Princeton and grew up in the area playing baseball, spending time with his dog Indiana and his friends. He lived in the Princeton area until going on his father's world lecture tour. In 1910, Jones was in Russia and ran away from his parents and hoped to return to New Jersey, a desire he shared with his fellow runaway, Leo Tolstoy. Interesting. That was probably one of the books, I'm guessing. Returned to Princeton, then until the death of Jones's mother. So they mentioned 1916 in here. 1919, Jones returned to New Jersey after World War I in the Versailles Peace Conference and tried to reconcile with his father and watched his friend Paul Robeson graduate and give the commencement address at Rutgers University. This is probably Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. I'm thinking.
That's what I would think, because if you look at the movies, the only time they touched on
canon by Lucas and Spielberg. So
wait,
Gravity Falls. Okay, why not?
Really?
Yeah. Actually, I'm kind of curious to see the rest of them on this list. Wile E. Coyote's from like Wyoming. Rambo's from the Southwest. Beavis and Butthead is Texas. I knew that already.
Wait a minute. How does Gilligan get Hawaii?
Maybe they left on a 3-hour tour from Hawaii. I don't know.
No, they left on the 3-hour tour, but the island was supposed to be one that wasn't like occupied or
Maybe
found or
they were
anything.
in Hawaii.
You can't claim it as Hawaii.
I don't know. Paul Bunyan is okay. Mr. Deeds is what is that? Vermont. Jack Torrance is Massachusetts. Barbie is the most famous character in New York. Okay, fine.
I didn't know she was from New York. I always figured she was a California girl.
Frank Underwood is South Carolina. Barney Fife, I guess North Carolina. Garfield, Indiana. That's right, because actually Jim Davis is from Muncie. Michael Kelso from Wisconsin. Yeah. Ferris Bueller, Chicago. Thelma and Louise is what is that? Arkansas. Hannah Montana is Tennessee. Good
Chili
job,
Willy is
Louisiana.
Alaska.
You got Medea.
It's like really, Alaska's had nothing else since Chili Willy.
Chili Willy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Ellie Sattler's from Montana. Okay. Desmond, Wizard of Oz, Great Gatsby. Charlie Brown's from Minnesota. That's interesting. I didn't know that. So Doonesbury.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Marty McFly, California. Yeah, okay, I could sell that. Wile E. Coyote, John Rambo from.
Hold on. In Wisconsin, is that Kelso?
That is Kelso's head. Yes, apparently he was arguably the most.
How is Kelso the most famous? It's like I figured. Look, I would have picked Fez over Kelso.
I think Beavis and Butthead, by the way, is bigger than Hank Hill. But yeah, Hank Hill is personified Texas. Wait, who do you think?
I mean, that's just Mike Judge.
Who do you think would be bigger than Kelso?
Fez.
No, I think Kelso was the more popular character. Definitely with me, at least.
I'm starting to learn in this episode. We definitely have different tastes.
We do, and that's okay. You're allowed to be wrong. It's okay. I don't mind. I'm not gonna hold against you. No, listen. I mean, here's the thing. Fez I found to be a little bit one note. Kelso was just stupid, and that stupidity made him fun to me anyway. Yeah. I mean, there was an episode where he tried to basically, he tried to toboggan down a hill with like no snow.
I almost would have said maybe even Red more so than Kelso.
We'll have to see when that 90s show comes out in a week or so. I think that's going to be terrible. I'm going to check out the first episode because all the original cast are back in, with the exception of Danny Masterson for legal reasons, understandably.
Right.
But they brought everyone else back in for episode 1, so I'll check it out for that and see what it looks like. But I'm not holding a ton of faith on this. But I'll give it a shot. I mean, like I said, that 70s, I love that 70s show. I'll sit there and watch YouTube clips for half an hour, 40 minutes.
With the exception of the final season when they tried to replace Toby.
Dude, I felt so bad for Josh Myers. Yeah, they had to Randy down. Josh Myers. I thought he apparently
cried. It was one of the Myers, I know.
Dude, they would the crowds would boo him during live tapings. He'd cry in his trailer. I felt so bad for him because he had to replace Eric and Kelso in the same season. And that is too much.
Yeah, it is. Why even bother doing it?
Originally, what was supposed to happen is there was a Charlie character in season 7 late that was supposed to be introduced. Who was kind of like the naive character, which I think would have worked better for the show. But he took a lead role in a different show, so they literally killed the character off.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You don't do that in the final season of a series.
Yeah,
you do that like mid-series, like season 4 maybe. You start introducing new characters that can maybe play in and out.
So, by the way, I'm glad you're enjoying this. This is the usual banter when Ryan and I usually are just running together like this. This is the usual dumb crap that we come out with.
Yeah, this stuff we haven't even touched on, but Lord,
Day is like the arguably normal one of the bunch of the three of us. Yeah, I was gonna say we never touched Jeremy Renner, and actually it's almost what we've been at this for 75 minutes already. So
yeah, probably should finish up with that because that is probably like the most dire story in entertainment.
So let's end on a really sour note.
HBO Max has outside of the awards ceremony and the speeches and everything. There is the very real possibility that Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye, he's in stable condition, but boy, did he have a hell of an accident.
Oh my.
Yeah, I love that when they decided to go ahead and post a picture of like show them that you're doing all right. He posts the picture and he looks like he was like beat up in a gang brawl.
Yeah, you know.
But
But
yeah, the fact that just getting into the new year, he ended up in a snowplow accident.
mhm.
Um, Mostly by helping somebody. He was actually doing like I'm not saying being heroic, but he was certainly trying to help somebody out and got caught up in that.
Mhm.
And while he may be in stable condition, it's rare that you ever see like an actor go ahead and put themselves on the line, which I would say makes him very heroic in that sense. He didn't have to do what he did, but he certainly did. And to some reports, it may even cost him his leg. They may have to amputate his leg
Yeah.
in order for him to be able to walk again. But he'll never be at 100%, they say, from this, whether or not he keeps it. And it's rare that you hear about a story like this because certainly when you're an actor or when you're somebody in the media, whether you're a celebrity, entertainer, whatever, your body, your face, your image, that is your meal ticket. That is what helps sell you to projects. And we've heard of like certain celebrities doing heroic things, and I think that's probably more uncommon than not because it's not safe for them to go ahead and damage what's going to get them more work. Like I would never think, a boxer to go ahead and put their hands on something scalding and mess up their hands to the point where
Mhm.
they can't punch anymore. Say, and with an actor, you use everything. So the fact that he went ahead and did this to himself, I mean, it's commendable, and I hope he comes out of it fully. But obviously, there are some people that are saying, you know, what does this do for his career? Is it over now?
I have one comment and one thought on that. I'll start with the thought first. What may end up happening, he may go into voice work because that's probably relatively easy. He can sit down for something like that, and he can make good. He has a good voice too, which I think would work really well for commercials. But here's the other side of it, and nobody's talking about. Unless you're in the industry, you don't know this. Remember, under the new agreement, union actors do not get health insurance based on residuals anymore. So in 2020, when they suddenly announced during COVID that there was a $141 million deficit, anybody who had residual checks that used to count for decades used to count towards your health insurance. So everything that he has done with just Hawkeye in general, just pick every Hawkeye thing that's out there. Everything he does from that, he gets a residual check. For decades, that money would go towards your requirement for health insurance. So a lot of retirees and actors that are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s could still get a union health insurance under that until 3 years ago. And then they announced literally out of the blue, really kind of a really underhanded way of doing it, saying, oh yeah, by the way, we're not doing that anymore. So he now at this point could very well lose his health insurance for this year because he's not working because of this accident.
Right. And
How,
say
how
what
much
you
of a
will
mind
about
job?
like
How much of a
previous
mind
work.
job is that?
Yeah. And then you have to worry about his future work too. While his stuff with Hawkeye and the MCU may be put on the back burner now, they may not necessarily need him anymore.
He handed the
He
role
still
over
has
anyway.
other projects going forward. Certainly, the new season of Mayor of Kingstown on Paramount
Mhm.
Plus came out, where he's the star, and he plays a very active character in that. To see that character possibly end up crippled or put on the shelf because he can't move
They can work
around like
around it.
he used to anymore,
They'll do
would
what they do with
certainly be
Tom
a
Selleck.
detriment.
They might do what they do with Tom Selleck right now, where they film everything while he's sitting down. Because Selleck can't stand anymore with the operations he's had on his knees. So they have him sitting for pretty much everything he ever does. It's not unlike when an actress becomes pregnant and they film it a certain way just to kind of not show the baby bump. They will work on the same thing with him in this particular case. But like I said, if this recovery takes for a long time, he might lose his union health insurance because of it, which is frankly just a load of bullshit.
Right. I
I
mean,
went on Cobra for 6 months because of the fact that I lost it. You know,
yeah, you hope he has enough saved, obviously, and I'm sure that he has.
the
He's been,
residuals will still come in. The checks will still come in for everything he's ever done.
yeah, but I
So
mean,
he
he's had
did.
a long career. I mean, this is a guy that's been working ever since the 90s. You know, he only recently had like his big boom, I would say, because of the Hurt Locker. Outside of that, he's just been like the standard hand that you'd see in something like National Lampoon's Senior Trip.
Mm-hmm.
I know I had to pull out that nugget.
Yeah, I was going to say, dude, really. I was waiting for you to say Born Legacy, but okay. But yeah, like I said, he'll get the checks on that, and obviously that's going to help from the income standpoint. But the health insurance, like I said, that they did a lot of people wrong with that, you know, and unfortunately he's going to be part of that because his residuals don't count towards what he needs. So if he loses his leg, he still has to figure out a way to make work happen.
Right, but I'm glad that in the moment he still did what he did rather than thinking
Oh
about
yeah, I know
how it was going to affect him or
yeah.
what could possibly happen.
But you think about stuff like this once that moment passes and you start reflecting on the okay, now what?
Right.
And this is an okay, now what? So,
well, all I know is if he does lose the leg, you have to bring him back as Hawkeye. All right, it's almost got to be like a redemption story for the character. He was already losing his hearing. I want to see a Hawkeye that's got like the ear implants, the fake leg, and still shooting off the arrows like a boss.
This is going to look like Mad Eye Moody from Harry Potter.
Maybe, who knows? maybe they make him like a Deathlock character where he's like partly cybernet.
You know what I'll say on this though? In a weird way, this reminds me when Michael J. Fox had his TV show 11 years ago, where
Sin City.
No, he had the Michael.
Michael J. Fox show. Yes, okay, I
remember. Where his Parkinson's.
Sorry, only 11. God, that was 11 years ago. Jeez.
12 actually. It was 2011.
Oh man, I still remember.
Yeah, they the Parkinson's was kind of the running joke, which was funny initially, and then you're just like, you know.
Yeah, no, he tried to play into it obviously because he
had
been writing it in other ways for so long, and it's like you can try to do something like that. I mean, not everything is going to be like Corey or Corky on Life Goes On, where you can actually take a disability or an illness and play into the character well enough.
Sure.
Not everything is going to be like that. But I do commend him for trying at least.
Oh, sure. But like I said, it was one of those things that initially you laughed and then you felt like shame for laughing a little bit, you know?
Well, because, I mean, when it comes to those of, the differently abled or the, people saying that there aren't enough, that maybe Hollywood is ableist. Well, it doesn't allow a lot of, like, handicap actors to get into work. I'm remembering the story of Jim Jeffries when he talked about the casting for his show and that the fact that they wanted to get somebody to play his friend who was like a quadriplegic. And you had all these actors that were coming in playing disabled as opposed to actually being disabled. And still they went with like DJ Qualls, who, while he is able-bodied, he does look sickly. So it was the closest thing you could go with it.
Yeah. He always looks malnourished.
He always. He looks like Joaquin Phoenix when he played the Joker. Just all the bones showing. How does he eat?
I want to actually look this up. What is his height and weight? He's 6'1", 141.
I know girls that are 141 and they're like 5'2" and they still think they're fat.
Well, that's society for you.
I know, but to be 6 foot and still at that weight, geez.
6'1", so what is that? 73 inches. But 6'1".
He's actually doing the math, folks.
No, I just okay. Yes, his BMI is actually 18.6. 18.5 is underweight. So he is this close to being BMI underweight.
He's just right on the fringe.
I don't have to check mine. I already know which end of the spectrum I'm on there. But
no. I'm tipping the scale, sure, but
actually, you know what? What am I? What was I? 233?
Oh, don't do this to yourself.
Yeah, I'm 32.5, but I'd like to say, well, so The Rock is technically over obese himself, but
Exactly. If I can be at the same level as The Rock, I am fine with that.
I got the same BMI as The Rock.
Yes.
And Sylvester Stallone. Look at me.
It's just, he actually looks like a rock. I look like Landslide.
Ooh, dude. But time makes you bolder.
You rather I say mud puddle? I mean, like, where do you want me to go with this?
Great. It's gonna. It's songs gonna be Fleetwood Mac's gonna be stuck in my head the rest of the night. Not that that's a bad thing.
But okay, all humor aside,
yeah,
definitely well wishes to Jeremy Renner and his family.
respect. Yeah,
May you recover as fully as possible. We're all still fans of yours, and we do want you to see, many more gigs to come.
indeed. And I'm sure you'll get work out of this. I'm sure they'll figure it out.
They better.
Well, we talked about before how much content there is. I'm sure he'll figure this out. They'll make it work.
Right.
So, but yeah, definitely. So, all right, sir.
So
anything else you want to call?
Anything else that you wanted to touch on before we close out tonight?
No, I fired off my rant pretty well. I'm gonna. When it comes to Zingo TV, I'm gonna probably have to do some editing on this between tonight and tomorrow.
Oh, I would say so. Yes.
Yeah, a couple of bleeps will have to be removed.
Yes. Although we would also love to hear from you, despite whenever this goes on Zingo TV, Spanglish Entertainment. For those of you watching, whether it be on YouTube or Facebook or just right now, did you guys watch Velma, and what did you think?
Yes.
Did you guys watch The Last of Us, or did you play the game? Do you have any interest in seeing something that you already know what the ending is? And what are your thoughts on Jeremy Renner? Do you wish him well, or do you think he was stupid for doing what he did? And if no judgments, no judgments. If that's what you thought, that's what you thought.
Fair.
I have my own judgments on you people that would dare criticize a brave, heroic man saving people in the snow and ice to be trounced by a truck. But no judgments. No judgments.
Even if it was one of those heroic and amazing things that a person's ever done. But you know what? You don't have to like it, though. That doesn't make you a bad person.
No, none. So thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, pretty much everybody that Joe Kessler. Thank you for coming in. Everybody that commented. We hope we hear some more comments from all of you people later on tonight.
We're getting
there. Scott, sign us off.
Yeah, be good, guys. Thanks as always. Appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Take care and adios.